Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the first episode of Restoration Talks. You guys know us from the Hour of Restoration, of course. Every Saturday, we have this radio show discussing various topics based on the faith. And today we are starting a new segment called Restoration Talks. You may know Table Talk. So that's when we had discussions during the radio show, and you also may know us from Insta Live, where we discussed other types of topics that were also faith based. And we decided to combine both of them and create Restoration Talks. So, how you can view it is tomorrow we'll discuss the radio show, and it will be about how to grow spiritually. And especially, we're going to focus on how to overcome temptations. And today, we're just going to discuss it in a more base type of setting, so that you can also think about the topic yourself and also take that along with you to the coming radio show and during your Sabbath. So, yeah, I have also two of my brothers who are also going to join me. You have seen them many times on the show. We have brother Randy and we have brother James. So, hey
What up?
guys,
What up? What up?
Bless, bless.
how are you guys doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm looking outside. The weather is nice. The
Hmm.
sun, the sun is blessing my skin, so I'm happy. I'm happy, 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 happy.
Yeah, man. Melanin is being blessed. I'm doing fine.
Hmm.
Happy to be here after a long time back on the show.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, we're also very happy to have you. We know you from the keys and the instruments, but now we see you once again in Restoration Talks. So, people at home, know that you can comment, know that you can share, like, subscribe, do whatever, because we also want to know what your opinion is on some of the notions that we're going to discuss. So please type along in the comment section. Let us know what you think, and yeah, let's hit it off with notion number one. So, as I said, how to grow spiritually, and we're going to focus on temptations. So, the first notion that we have is every temptation comes from the devil.
Now, who's the devil? Who's the devil?
Let us think. So,
Every
if I would
temptation.
ask you, Brother James, if you see this notion, every temptation comes
Whew.
from the devil, what do you think?
Ah,
Do you disagree?
ah. I think that's a hard one. But
Hmm.
me personally, I won't say that it's only the devil
Hmm.
that tempts, because I think for me personally, even just having a conscience and having the opportunity to choose between good and evil
Hmm.
means that you always have that battle in your mind of, will I do the wrong or will I do something that's right?
Hmm.
So I think even like in the Garden of Eden, that opportunity to, eat from the fruit, that's already a temptation. So I think the
Hmm.
best way, yeah, I just think God actually intentionally puts it there, because I think that to actually show love, you need to be able to resist certain things. So
Hmm.
that's my point of view in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm curious of you guys.
Well, I do. Yeah, every temptation comes from the devil. I disagree. I don't believe that it's necessarily the devil tempting you. I truly believe that when you are tempted yourself, it is because there is already a desire in you that wants to maybe have that thing or longs or desires for that thing. So,
Mm.
when it comes to temptation, right, I see it as you cannot really be tempted with something you don't have a appetite for. So, for example, if you would try to tempt me with taking drugs, for example, it doesn't do anything with me. I don't feel the urge. I don't feel the need because I don't even have a desire or a longing to do so. So, the only way for me to be tempted is if that temptation already lives within me. So no, I wouldn't blame it on the devil. I think it's more a you problem than the devil himself.
I think I have a different
Um,
angle coming onto this subject or this topic because if I read the statement, it says every temptation comes from the devil. But what if you are a temptation to someone else? Does that mean that you are the devil then?
maybe
Because
you are.
because the temptation comes from you at that particular moment. So are you the devil then? Is it get thee behind me, Satan? Or
Ja, precies daar. That was what I was thinking about. Yeah,
so yeah, that's how I feel it because sometimes we can also be a devil when evil desires are in you and you're yeah committing things and sometimes people are conscious of these things, especially
yeah,
um for example women when they put on certain dresses they are conscious of what that dress might do to the opposite sex. They look in the
Hmm.
mirror like is my backside sticking out enough and those kinds of things, and then you know that you're going to be a temptation when you step out that door. So if we're saying that every temptation comes from the devil, then my question is who's the devil? Is
yeah.
it
That
But
you?
is a good.
I think that that is an interesting one
Yeah.
because it's like let's that's just for me to understand this question a bit better. Do you guys think that temptation is good or it's evil?
Huh? Temptation
Wow.
good or evil?
Deep
Yeah,
What do
because
you
question.
mean?
because I am thinking if temptation is something bad,
Mhm.
right? Will evil come from Elohim? I'm like, uh,
Elohim doesn't tempt.
Yeah, he doesn't tempt. Yeah, yeah. He
Elohim
tests.
doesn't.
okay,
They're two different things. If you give me a few minutes, then I will come up with my answer. But give me a few minutes, and then I'll be back anyway.
Okay,
yeah,
James,
okay,
let's continue. Man to man,
yeah,
man to man. Rephrase what you said again.
okay. So I am saying because even in the last statement that our sister just made, she said
Yeah,
Elohim doesn't tempt,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I am like, okay, that situation in the Garden of Eden, right?
Mhm.
Putting that uh, tree of knowledge, good and evil in the tree, in
Mhm.
the garden, to me, it already seems like creating a possibility, creating an option for somebody to actually touch the fruit, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I'm even wondering like the very presence of that tree,
Mhm.
wasn't that a temptation, or did temptation actually start when the serpent started to talk to Eve? Because for me, like when you have certain temptations, it's not even like something special needs to happen, but sometimes you don't have a desire in one context,
Mhm.
but then suddenly the context changes, and then now you do have the desire. So, for instance, if it wouldn't have been the serpent, maybe Adam is angry at Eve, and now he's like, if I were God, I would smite this lady, and that's why he chose to eat the fruit. I'm like the very existence of the fruit in the garden at itself to me already seems as a temptation.
So you're saying that the tree that Elohim placed is the temptation.
Yes, in a way.
Nah, I don't
So
think that
that is
that's.
my question actually to you guys. Like, is the tree a temptation, or is it always the voice whispering in your ear?
I don't think the tree itself is a temptation because an object on itself. Let's say for example Elohim placed the tree, and
Yeah.
because we all know the story, like Elohim said to them, don't touch the tree. But let's say for example he didn't put that rule like everything is allowed. Would that tree on itself be a temptation then? Yeah,
Mm,
now you're stuck.
I yeah, but to me, it's actually it's like telling a child, don't press this button. Maybe the child wouldn't have noticed the button, but now that you have told the child, don't press it,
Yeah.
now it becomes a temptation,
But the
right?
button itself is not, it's not the temptation. Because that's how you phrased it. That's how I interpreted how you phrased it. Like Elohim
Yeah, but
placing the tree there, that the tree is the temptation. No,
okay, so
it's
you're
it's
saying
the
the tree is not a temptation,
no the
right?
everything around it, the voice that
Mhm.
speaks, that puts importance on the tree, and then another voice that comes like, hey, go against that voice. That is causing the temptation.
Okay, okay, okay. So I'm just gonna keep you to this, right?
Keep
It's
moving.
Mhm.
not the subject that is the temptation, it's the context. That's
Yep.
what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, okay.
That's
Bring
So
interesting.
bring it on.
I'm,
Bring
I'm
it on.
I'm gonna I'm gonna keep you to that because sometimes when we go through certain things, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
our sister just said that it's not. Um, you said something about temptation. Elohim doesn't tempt, right?
Mhm.
So for me, it's like okay, if it's not Elohim that tempts, and neither is it the subject itself, it's the context.
Mhm.
And our sister also said that temptation.
I didn't say about the
Uh,
context. The
no, no,
context,
no, no, no.
but
But
yeah,
you said that temptation
yeah.
only comes if you already have that desire,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So then it means that if for instance somebody's walking on the street and you are tempted by that person,
Mhm.
Mhm.
that there was already a lustful desire or whatever was already in you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I hear this a lot of times when, for instance, uh, ladies they walk around with short skirts or whatnot. Men tell them, "Hey, you guys should be more modest." And then what do they say? You should not feel tempted by this because it's what you have in your heart that is causing you to be lustful, right? Our brother just said it's not the subject that is lustful, that brings the lust. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm then curious: if my brother walks around,
Mhm.
sees a lady
Yeah.
who's not dressed modestly,
Yeah.
he is the one who's wrong because he has something in his heart that causes him to be tempted.
No, 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 no,
No,
wait, wait.
I get what you mean. So basically, what you're saying is, in the brother, there is a desire for that which he is seeing, but in a sense, the woman that he is seeing that is immodestly clothed, she is the temptation, right?
He- no, because he said the temptation is not the person, it's not the subject, it's the context.
But can you define context? Because for me,
Yeah.
it wasn't really clear. You said it, Wendy.
Okay, who or what is the temptation in this story that we're talking about?
Okay, let's maybe we ought to break down temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is temptation? Temptation is, first of all, is temptation something good or something bad? Quick answer. I need quick answers, please.
For me it's neither and
Uh,
both. For me it's both, I mean.
okay, Brittany,
But
what do you say?
I said bad, but
Okay,
continue your
let's
point.
go with Brittany's answers. Temptation is something bad. So if the
okay.
woman is there and she is causing the temptation, meaning she has things upon herself that are causing a bad reaction in someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, James, what she is wearing, or she is the object in that situation, and she has on things that cause a bad reaction in someone else,
Yeah.
means the context in which she is wearing the attire is bad, right?
Yeah,
Because she can wear those clothes in her house where she is and her husband are alone. It's not bad, the clothes. She
okay,
can wear it
okay,
all day long. But in the
okay.
context where we are on the streets, it's
Mm-hmm.
causing a bad temptation. You can tempt me in the room if we're alone, but not on the streets in other men.
Wow.
Okay, okay.
Hey,
I like that. I like that
Yeah, people in the
that
comment, you
way of
like it, please
framing.
comment if you like it.
I like that framing. I like that
it's a
framing.
different
You know.
angle. I haven't heard
Yes.
that one before. It's
I had to check it, you know, because I don't want to hear it's the subject and then suddenly there is there's no, let's say people are not taking responsibility, you know,
Mhm,
for their actions, etc. And then they will actually blame the person who's sinning
Hmm.
mhm.
whilst always forgiving the people that lead the other to sin. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted to expose. But nice, nice, nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Good one. Good point, Jimmy. I see. I see someone in the
You
comment
see?
section says also I see.
Yes, you guys were thinking
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
was off the rails,
No,
but
no, no. You were
I
there.
was still in this. I was still in the spirit. I was still in the
So
spirit.
still
people,
in
Yes.
let
this.
us know. Do you guys also believe that every temptation comes from the devil? Do you agree, disagree? Post it in the comment section now. And whilst you're doing that, we will move on to our second notion, and that is
And that is.
you cannot overcome temptations if you are not honest with yourself. I will repeat it again. You cannot overcome temptations if you are not
Hmm.
honest with yourself.
Okay, okay, okay. You cannot overcome temptation if you're not honest with yourself. So,
So
yeah.
Yeah. Is
No,
it
go
clear
ahead.
for
Go ahead,
everyone?
James. Go
Is
ahead.
it
no, no,
clear?
no. I want to understand
Yeah.
the sentence
Hmm.
correctly. So I I want. So if you're honest with yourself, you will be able
To
to
overcome it.
overcome temptation. Right? Is that?
Oh, so wait, you're turning it around, right? No.
Yes. Just
Yeah.
so I understand
Yeah.
the
So in
phrase.
order, yeah. So in order to overcome the temptation, you have to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
No. Yeah.
wait. What does it mean to be honest with yourself? Can someone please break that down?
So, for example, I would call it like more that awareness of. So maybe you're dealing with an issue. I will use the issue of, for example, drugs again. If you know that you have a weakness for that or you have a desire for that, in order to overcome that, you have to actually be honest with yourself and start with saying that you actually have a problem. Let's say if you're maybe already in the phase of being addicted to it, every time you see it, you're being triggered by it.
Mm.
In order for you to overcome, you need to be honest with yourself. You cannot overcome anything that you do not acknowledge that you are having an issue with, for example. So that is
Yeah.
what the notion means with if you are not honest with yourself. Does that make it any clearer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so you have to admit that you have a problem. And you said, for example, drugs, but let's
Mm-hmm.
bring it back to temptation as in lust, because some people may
Mm-hmm.
not have the conviction that they, yeah, have, yeah, how do I say it? Because I try to, are we talking about the angle of people that are dealing with temptation or people that are causing temptations? You
The
No, I
people
think the
that,
person who's dealing with the temptation,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
those are the people that need to overcome it.
Oh,
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you have to be honest. Like, if you, for example, have
Mm-hmm.
troubles with lust or fornication, sex out of marriage, then you have to first acknowledge that. Because if you do not acknowledge that or be honest with yourself, then you keep going to places thinking that you can overcome or you will be able to stand. If you know that that's your weakness,
yeah.
you will avoid certain places. I would like to bring it back to a certain subject. When people go to the doctor, right? And for example, the doctor gives them a diagnosis like you're allergic to this. You're allergic to this. If you take a bite of this peanut, your whole face will swell up. Your throat will that you have trouble breathing. So with the same thing, I see it with temptations. Like if you know you're dealing with masturbation or lustful thoughts or whatsoever, going to certain parties may be like that peanut taking a bite of that peanut. What do you guys think about that? is that something that you ought to be honest about, or do you have to avoid every place that you go then? Because these things that I named are found everywhere around us today.
You have to recap the peanuts. I'm lost.
When you didn't
Oh,
understand
Again,
it.
so again,
I got you. I got you, bro. I got
If
you.
you're allergic to peanut, huh?
no,
Yeah,
no.
man.
Okay.
My
Let's
life.
say you go to the doctor, right?
Mm-hmm,
And because you have a kind of allergic reaction.
mm-hmm,
So the doctor says you have this reaction because you're allergic to peanuts.
mm-hmm,
Then you will start to avoid peanuts, right?
mm-hmm,
Or you start to
mm-hmm.
go you have how do you say that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You start.
I get you. Okay, now I get you. Yeah, continue.
You're starting
You pay
to deal.
attention
Yeah,
to
you pay
it and
attention, you start to
avoid
deal
it.
wisely, and you start
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
looking at the ingredients. The same way you ought to deal with it if it comes to lust. If you
mm-hmm,
know you're suitable to certain sins, sexual sins, you ought to start to be aware of your surroundings. You have to read certain rooms before you enter it, analyze if it's wise for you to go there, if you know
yeah,
that you're allergic to that sin, you know. Do
mm-hmm.
you
yeah.
understand me
But
now?
Yeah, so you basically agree with the notion then,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I try to
yeah,
break it down for people that may not agree or do not understand it. So that's how I see it.
Okay. Yeah. No.
yeah. No, I think I agree as well because it's it's for instance with myself,
Mm-hmm.
I gained some daddy weight, and
Daddy weight, eh?
yeah, some daddy weight. So I believe that the grace period it has passed, so now I'm very conscious about the fact that okay, we need to get more in shape, etc. So you get a bit conscious that okay, this is what needs to be done. I need
Mm-hmm.
to live healthy. I
Mm-hmm.
am not living healthy at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
therefore changes need to be made. So I don't think that you will come to that point where you realize that a change is necessary
Mm-hmm.
if you don't accept the current position that you're in. So that you realize, okay, I need
Mm-hmm.
to change, I need to adjust my diet, and actually even realizing that there is a temptation ahead of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you're, for instance, you want to be healthy, but you don't realize that having all the snacks and whatnot in your house and is that how do you call that, like that which is leading you to fall, or you won't make the progress that you really want to make. So that's where you then realize, okay, I need to be more healthy. The temptation is all these things in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It would be better if I would uh, replace some of these snacks with a healthier alternative, right?
Yeah.
uh, so I do think it starts there.
Mm-hmm.
um, Only I don't think that it's enough. So
Yeah.
that's my thing. Like sometimes you realize that you are being tempted, but then you need to actually put the actions in place
Mm-hmm.
that will now prevent you from uh, staying in that position.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
I did. Yeah.
This to everybody, eh? Have you ever dealt with a temptation where you, in the first stage, were not honest about it? You were like, nah, this is not good.
Mm,
And then in a later stadium, you were like, maybe it is this.
Uh, I wouldn't say when it comes to a temptation. Maybe something I had those moments more when I maybe wanted to work on something or want to work on myself, and then sometimes you have to confront yourself and it's like, oh, maybe you should do this or work on this, and before I can do that, I should first sit with myself, ask myself
yeah.
certain questions, and then I realized like, oh, okay, Brittany, this is probably why you should need to work on that. But in the sense of a temptation, I did not have that, to be honest.
I actually did,
Mm-hmm.
and I already spoke about health, so maybe that's why this one is coming up. But I know that I was a period I was very health conscious and very strict with my diet, whatnot. And then later on, I switched jobs. So instead of being tempted once, let's say a week,
Mm-hmm.
then I would come at Central Station a lot of times. And anytime I would be at Central Station, I would be tempted to say, you know what? You're tired from work, you had a long day, just buy something to eat right there. It's gonna be delicious, and it only takes 10 minutes, and you're done, and then you can go home. Knowing that, first of all, you're making expenses that are unnecessary. You have food at home, and
Mm-hmm.
the meal is less nutritious. You're probably gonna gain weight, and in the beginning, I was like, nah, I can handle it because I'm training a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, this is just once a while, so it's not really a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Until I started to realize, wait a minute, this past 2 months, I spent like 100, 200 euros on food, and this is mad. And then even after realizing it, when I would
Mm-hmm.
pass and I would buy something in the beginning, I wouldn't feel guilty because I didn't realize like, okay, this is still an exception. This is still an exception.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I realized, no, 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 wait, wait, wait. You said exception, but now it's 4 months. So what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Are you not preparing well enough before you leave the place? And then later I started to realize, okay, this is really a problem. You're not prepared enough. So you have Bible studies this day, other day you have praise team practice, other day you have this, that. And because of this, you actually don't have time, or actually you don't provide yourself healthier options either.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to realize that, whoa, it is a problem, and I was in denial. And if I would have been honest with myself earlier on,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I could have, curved the problem uh, ahead of time. But now you're in like a cycle.
Yeah.
So now it's like some people say drug addicts are addicted, but in a way, I felt like, nah, this getting back to eating salads and all these things is not working for me. Now I'm enjoying the fries and the rice and
Mm-hmm.
the bankus. I'm no longer eating salads. So yeah, I do think that there are a lot of things that are tempting us, but we
Mm-hmm.
actually are not aware of it. I think some people might have it, for instance, with things like Netflix. You
Mm-hmm.
know that you have to do something, or YouTube. I spoke with some of my brothers even about it. That some of us, we know that our leisure time we should take a part of it and actually spend it on other things.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't. We should spend it on Elohim. We should spend it on studying more. We should spend it on. But we're constantly tempted by that icon at the top left or top right of our phone.
Yeah.
That,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you still need to do this and you still need to do that and you still need to talk to this person and that person, and before you know it, you don't have time for the things that are most important. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that every person, if you dig well enough, you might find a temptation that keeps you away from Elohim and keeps you away from maybe spending times with your loved ones,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With that one, I really agree. When you phrase it, or you gave the example of yourself, because I remember in the beginning I said no, it's more when I'm working on something myself. But as you were talking about, for example, in the case of food or maybe the time invested, yeah, I think I
Yeah,
also encountered this several times. But I think we all agree with the notion that this is step one. Like being
yeah,
honest with yourself is step one, and what you do after that really determines whether you're going to overcome the temptation or not. Because you
yeah,
can be aware of something and then still not do anything with the awareness, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So once again, dear people, let us know, what do you guys think? Do you guys also believe you cannot overcome temptations if you are not honest with yourself? We
Correct.
all unanimously agree, but there might be people that disagree. So if you're someone that disagrees, let us know. And that brings us to our last notion of tonight already, and that is the best way to overcome temptations by running from it. And
Uh,
as I read this one, I will repeat it again. The best way to overcome temptations is by running from it. I think this is based on the scripture that says you have to flee.
Yeah.
Flee.
For
But
sexual immorality, you have to flee
is
from
it,
it.
how do you know that you overcame it by always running from it?
That is a good question.
It's another question.
No, but I actually think
Hmm.
you know that you overcome it by being able and having the willpower to flee the moment you're aware that it's around the corner. Because
Hmm.
I think temptation is something that's so powerful, it actually taps into something that's natural. Like, that's why I continued to talk about like the lustful lady that's walking around, and our
Hmm.
brother said it very well. In the right context, it's fine,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Uh, a, a woman being dressed somehow for her husband, it's fine, it's perfect.
Hmm.
A man walking around in his shorts, it's fine, it's perfect when it's in the right context. But when you detect that the context is
Hmm.
wrong, then you should also know that your nature
Hmm.
is not as conscious about the context as you are. So your nature, if you're a hungry person, people sometimes say if you're hungry, everything tastes good. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter if the food is rubbish or it's nice. You just want to eat. You just want to satisfy that urge.
Hmm.
And I think that that is also the same way with like when you seek love, when you seek companionship, when
Hmm.
you seek lustful pleasures, whatnot. When you when you have a certain urge and that urge is not met,
Hmm.
and at that same moment, it's the solution for that urge presents itself, even if the context is not right, your body is going to respond. And it
Yeah.
takes a very big man or woman to resist it, because if you are hungry, you haven't eaten for, let's say you have fasted, not even fasted because you didn't even do it consciously. You
Hmm.
didn't eat a whole afternoon, and somebody offers you something. You might not even like the thing, but
Yeah.
because you're hungry, you're gonna eat it. Some people I know, they will never accept food from somebody. Never. They want to make it themselves or whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But if
Insights.
they haven't eaten, they will forgive you for today and they will chop your food. They won't check your hands if you washed your hands or whatnot.
Hmm.
So yeah, I do think that running running is yeah, best option, man.
Yeah.
Because nature is something, it's hard to fight. Hard to fight.
But if I listen to your story, maybe I didn't understand correctly, but for you, resisting and running was the same thing or different things in the examples that you mentioned?
For me, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
because I this is something I told myself, and maybe people disagree.
Hmm.
But for instance, when I walk up a stairs and
Hmm.
there's a lady walking in front of me,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You have that first. glance because you're like walking. You look what's happening in your surroundings, right?
Mhm.
In that split second, you have 1 second to decide
Yeah.
where are your eyes going to go next. You
Yeah.
know, so in that split second, I decide I'm looking at my feet while I was walking up the steps. So
Mhm.
I think that that is the moment that you overcome temptation.
Mhm.
So the moment you know temptation is there,
Mhm.
then you s- try to divert your attention away from it.
Mhm.
That is how you overcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
moment you think, oh, I can stay in the presence of temptation, meaning seeing temptation, but
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
it having any consequences, then that is the moment you have fallen. That's
Yeah. You're actually too late.
yeah.
In Dutch, I say, je hebt kijken, je hebt kijken, kijken. And I would translate it. It's like you have looking and you have luku luku. And with the luku luku, you're actually
Yeah,
already
yeah, yeah,
too far. I'm not saying that it's still impossible to, like get yourself together and start walking or running away.
yeah,
But I really agree with actually everything that you said. It's really hard to in the moment itself. You have like a few seconds to decide what am I going to do,
yeah,
and I remember that especially in the beginning of my walk, this was quite difficult for me. Then you're still sensitive to certain factors, or you see something, or you see someone, and I would get triggered.
yeah,
Um, and then it also had to do with time, of course, and you growing and everything. But I noticed that sometimes, okay, you look, but it's more so important about, okay, you look one time, what do you do the second time? Or what do you
yeah,
do the third time? Or what do you do
yeah,
the fourth time? It will get less and less. But going back to the notion, by running from it,
Yeah.
I agree. But I think what the brother said is also a good one. I agree. Try to run from it, try to flee from it. But I believe also that there comes a point that you have to build stamina, or to have the ability to endure.
mm,
Because there are some situations that you cannot flee. You just cannot flee at all, and you're just like sitting there, like, okay, okay, what am I going to do now? Okay, am I going to look up? Am I going to look down?
yeah,
All up
But
in your face, you
but
know?
my question is then, are we is there different type of temptation? Because if I can speak for myself,
Hmm.
I think the biggest temptation that we as men have to deal with are the lust of the eyes. And
yeah,
if you look at now, anno 2023, if you look around everywhere, you see some kind of form of nudity or naked women or women dressed provocatively. Even on your job, you're simply sitting in the bus or in the train, you see all kinds of things on TV. Social media is influencing, so you're continually being provoked to lust. So I,
mm,
as a man, find it very hard to maneuver into in this world and have a clear mind if I, yeah, try to overcome temptations, because you're
yeah,
continually being confronted with it.
Hmm.
So, for example, the way how I deal with it, because the temptations will not go away. As for temptation, they will always be there.
Hmm.
So I myself try to deal wisely with it. For example, a little example in what I do in my daily, when I, for example, walk on the streets and I see a woman in strange apparel appearing, and I know she is going to walk in front of me if she
Hmm.
turns the corner. So I make sure that I speed walk, that I at least I walk before her and not behind her. So that's how I
yeah,
protect
Hmm.
myself. So these
uh-huh,
are the little things that you have to use. Or for example, at work, a certain um, co-worker, she works on your how do you say, department,
Hmm.
and she's always trying to talk to you in a certain manner. So you have to deal wisely in how you go in that conversation, I always come up with certain things. Like, oh wait, I have to go, and then oh
Mhm.
I'm in a rush. I don't
But you
entertain.
are fleeing it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's running away
Yeah,
from it.
yeah, because temptation is not something that you want to. I'll stand there and in the name of Jesus, I will stand. It doesn't work like that for me because the flesh it acts differently when there's
Yeah,
certain temptations around. So that's
yeah,
Hmm.
one I flee with a
Hmm.
conscious mindset.
yeah.
Okay. So
No,
you, yeah,
no,
yeah, go ahead.
because I agree because even listening to what Brittany was saying about
Hmm.
building up that muscle, I think you actually build up that muscle by
Hmm.
creating habits of fleeing, and that sounds weird, but once you have certain habits like, oh, I see this is ahead of me, I will do this, this is
Hmm.
coming up, uh, that means I need to do this to prevent something from happening. Eventually you become even numb of the temptation that lies ahead, because you
Hmm.
already know that you're not going to indulge in anything, because this is the logical reaction that you will have to the temptation. And I think that until you have that like, I would say, spiritual or mental muscle memory,
Hmm.
it will remain a very strong temptation to you.
Yeah.
um, so I, at least that's me, I have never had something that I felt like, wow, this temptation is so hard now, but I'm not fleeing it, but I can still resist it. No, it has only become worse. Like,
Hmm.
no, this thing is too big, so I'm running even harder from this one. So,
Yeah. I feel
uh,
like I really understand. I fully understand you. I understand you guys when you're speaking. As you were speaking, there came an example in my head. I don't know even where I learned or read about this. It's like they call it, I think, classical conditioning. So I don't know if you ever heard of an experience with a dog, and then if it hears a bell, then it starts drooling, and then it
ah,
and then
yeah,
I don't know how the entire experiment is, but what they're basically doing is that they're training the dog at a certain moment that even when the bell goes off, he doesn't respond anymore with per se drooling. And
yeah,
actually, exactly what you said, James. I think that that is something that we are trying to do. So maybe our first response would be like, "Oh, that person, oh, that woman, or oh, that brother looks good," and maybe you would lust in maybe if you were not strong enough, you would start lusting. But as you grow, you're training yourself to, okay, when that happens, what can be a different response? And as soon as you do it repeatedly, 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 that becomes the the automatic response. For
yeah,
most
But
for most of us, our automatic response is unfortunately the things that we've learned in this world, right? And we are learning and developing by creating a different response.
but
Yeah.
isn't that danger? Not really dangerous, but
Hmm.
we we are supposed to get a certain reaction when we see certain things, right? Because for
Hmm.
example, when you are married, you would want to see your wife and not per se lust, but you want to have certain desires to rise up because you want to procreate, right? So
yeah.
it's
If
not
you say
really to
wife, ah,
huh?
but in your
Wife.
context, your wife, yeah, that's still okay.
Yeah, yeah, but that's my
Yeah,
point because
yeah.
you in your example you said you need to train your mind like when you see certain things you ought not to react to it. I mean
No,
that's
I didn't say not react. It's like the second type of response. I said after that lusting. That's when you.
Yeah, because I think we spoke about there are two things,
that's
right?
not what I
That
meant.
that that no, 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 because Randy is talking about that nature that is
Hmm.
within you that
Hmm.
needs to respond to that attraction that is
Yeah.
in us,
Hmm.
right? So when we see, for instance, a lady that's beautiful, right, we
Hmm.
should have a response as a man that, okay, this is a beautiful lady.
Hmm.
However, we also discussed that the temptation is actually the context wherein this thing takes place.
Mhm.
So it's like if, for instance, you see this lady scarcely dressed, right, on the street.
Mhm.
In the beginning, it might be that, oh, your heart beats, right, because you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do
Yeah.
now that I have seen this lady? But we
Mhm.
can also change our mind
Mhm.
in, by training it and into coming to that uh, frame of mind where you're like, you feel sorry for her because you're like, doesn't she have a father that would tell her that she shouldn't dress like this, right?
Mhm.
Or you will feel like she's not well trained, right? Like,
Yeah.
how can she walk around like this? Doesn't she have self-respect?
Mhm.
However you bring it, right? Or you feel sorry for her that she doesn't know that Elohim loves her and now she's treated like someone that doesn't have a heavenly father. So
Mhm.
there is a frame of mind that you train yourself in, so that the moment you see her, you turn your face away, and then you justify that response that you have,
Mhm.
so that in the beginning you will feel the temptation, but
Exactly.
eventually you might you might start to change that feeling that you have from inside. That obviously, if I would look longer, it would trigger lustful thoughts.
Mhm.
But now my initial response is, this could be lustful, but I feel sorry for that lady. And
Mhm.
I actually have that now.
Mhm.
If like when I was younger and somebody would flirt with me or whatnot, I would be like, "This is amazing." The boy still has it. The boy still has it.
Yeah.
But now, when I notice that somebody is trying to be flirty or whatnot, I'm like, that's why this world is so messed up, because you don't know me and you're flirting with me, right? So
Mhm.
what if I was a crazy guy and you would flirt with me and you don't know me? So
You don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
I think you gave a perfect summary, actually, of the point that Annie was making, but also my point, because you showed in both examples. Yes, you have that desire. Yes, it's natural in certain contexts, and then in the end, you actually ended with what I said. It's about that response that you create for yourself, and that is also what's going to help you actually overcome the temptation. So run, as I have heard from all of us, running can be in different ways. You just have to find you just have to find the right way for you to run. So
Please,
people,
Ronnie.
yeah, please run. Don't stand there, don't pray, don't, just run. So, people, please, once again, let us know. You can also send us a private message if there were interesting notions that you heard and also want to share your opinion on. But this was really insightful. It was really nice to hear your guys' opinions. I think we shared a lot. I think it will also help people at home. Tomorrow we have the radio show, everyone here. So you, Randy, you, Jeffs, everyone here, and everyone at home. Tune in tomorrow, 12 p.m. sharp. We're going to discuss how you can grow spiritually. And then we'll look at part one by overcoming temptations. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone in the comment section. I see Sister Florence. Thank you for tuning in. I see Brother Shalom. I don't know who Sia is, but thank you also for commenting. And Sister
Yep.
Helena, Sister Shaloma. I hope, and Brother Justice, of course,
Yep.
we hope
Yep.
that you have learned a lot. So we see you tomorrow during the radio show. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Suway. How do you close this?
Bye
No,
Oh.
just kidding, just kidding. Bye bye.